Oh, I asked her, she wanted to send it to me. I said, no, send it to you. So this was my copy?
Nice.
Oh, I see, she wrote it to me and sent it to, oh, well, you know she was saying thank you, right? You saw this, I take it.
Check marks are the ones we're reading.
Oh, okay.
And then I'll just take the rest and you don't have to read them all.
Gotcha.
The youngins and the working women are
Okay.
here. Did you working women?
You did see this, right?
Okay. If we could have everybody rise for the pledge. Paul, can you lead us to the pledge, sir?
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Have a moment of silence for the men and women in the armed forces, our first responders, our veterans, and those brave men and women fighting the fight in the Ukraine. Thank you. And Katie, for those that would still like to stand for the American Creed, could you lead us to the American Creed, Katie?
Oh, I'd be happy to, Mayor. I believe in the United States of America as a government of the people, by the people, for the people, whose just powers are derived from the consent of the governed, a democracy in a republic, a sovereign nation of many sovereign states, a perfect union, one and inseparable, established upon those principles of freedom, equality, justice, and humanity, for which American patriots sacrificed their lives and fortunes. I therefore believe it is my duty to my country to love it, to support its Constitution, to obey its laws, to respect its flag, and to defend it against all enemies.
Thank you. We all can take a seat. And, Katie, if you could join me, come out over here to the side. I'd like to give a special recognition. And for those in the audience that don't know, these are our wonderful team of New Milford High School field hockey. I want to personally congratulate them as well as the town council. Runners up in the state. That is an awesome accomplishment. And you know, Coach, coming down a couple of times, wishing them luck and success. I mean, some adversity, you had weather adversity and challenges. Snow, exactly.
It was all because of your well wishes.
Just, well, I don't know about that, but it was just great to see you guys played with pride and honor, represented the green and white with grace. Coach, we can't thank you enough for that.
Thank you.
And outstanding season. So that being said, we'd like to present the team coach, the players, and each one gets the same one. And it just says the town of New Milford would like to recognize Coach you and the New Milford High School field hockey team for achieving runner-up in the 2022 CIAC Class M field hockey tournament, which are the states. Congratulations, New Milford, proud of New Milford strong. We're going to call you up, and you can come and get your one. I think they're in alphabetical order, aren't they?
No.
Okay. Well, let's see who we got here. Jordan's not here.
She's doing homework.
All right, that's important. How about
She's here.
me? All right.
Megan.
Megan, can you come on up?
Nice to see you.
Thank you. Okay. Emma? We have Emma here? All right, Emma. All right. How about Madison?
Yep.
All right.
Homework.
All right.
Penelope?
Yes.
All right, Pete. What else we got? Okay.
Michaela?
No, Michaela's like,
Kendall?
you're in the freshman.
Jeez. Mackenzie Shook?
Working.
Let's go for the backside.
That's right.
That one's yours. I will save yours for last, John. Jennifer Westlick?
Coach, I'll
Assistant
take
coach.
that.
Okay.
So who are all these other people out here? Meg Moore?
Morgan Moore.
Oh, hey, that's me. It says assistant coach.
Okay.
No, really?
Shh.
Oh.
Is that other practice?
Okay.
Should get ready for next
We're
year
getting there.
already.
All right,
I just
all
dressed
right.
like this to come in here, just for the kicks. Lila.
Nope. Lilia.
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 Yeah, I can't read it.
And
She's here.
Kaylee?
Hi.
Mia?
Maddie.
She's
Deacon.
Yoda. Just say Yoda.
Oh, Yoda, all right. Avery? All right.
Rowan? Maggie Morrison.
Smart kids, you know.
Jeez. Grace?
Grace is
Yeah,
here.
GK.
And Charlie?
She's working for sure.
We're gonna have to do another one of these.
Yeah.
Ella?
Is Ella here? No, Ella.
Carly?
Carly's here.
All right. Carly?
Which one?
Here.
Okay, Samantha?
Yep. Yep.
Morgan? Olivia?
She's here.
Okay. Carly?
And then this person's here.
Do we miss anybody?
Emma's at the middle school. She's here to support.
Okay.
Ah.
Well, lastly, Coach, I want to thank you for the many, many years
Thank you.
of coaching our field hockey team. Also helping with the young ones coming up through the ranks too. And this definitely, coaches, is a small thank you and amazing work you do for the field hockey team. Shows it with all the wins that you have and all the success. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Let's do it right in there.
Right there? All right, you guys up in front, picture.
Come on, then. Should we take our?
Take your plaque, and your plaque.
Yeah, we just do it.
You guys are getting the picture. Let's go. Everybody in. Everybody in.
No.
Goofy. We up here, still do it.
Dawn, you have to get in front. Oh, they know what to do. I didn't want you to get lost.
There you go.
No, that's fine. I'll stand back here.
She's gotta get in.
All right, I can sort of see you guys. Okay, smile. This way.
Hang on, Katie. Whoops.
Hang on, we have to get Alexandra, she's an alumni, I feel like.
Hey!
Well, in that case, Dawn, I will too. 'Cause I am too.
Absolutely, get in here, come on.
I got a little nice field hockey people. What the heck?
We're not advised of
Look this way, everybody. Katie, Alex, look this way. And
Whoever's behind.
Hillary, we can't see you.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
All right. Couple more.
Whoever's behind the mayor, I can't see, but.
Okay.
Tippy toes? Tippy toes? There you go.
Okay.
How's that?
Perfect. All right, guys, perfect.
Thank you.
Next job is the states. All right.
Yeah, it's tough,
It's always been that way.
but it's, close helps. Close is good. Okay. Did Tom,
They calling?
they don't, see? Is there anybody on the phone? Tom, Doug, Mary Jane's here.
Sal?
So we have two speakers, two participants. Barbara Wolf.
Just state your name and address for the record.
Barb Wolf, 3 Birch. Not too loud. In reviewing the town council minutes last week, and indeed seeing it for myself tonight, I noticed an additional preamble to the regularly scheduled business at hand. I don't know anything about why it was implemented or how it came about or in why we need it, but I do know how it made me feel, and quite frankly, I was a little offended. It may have been implemented with the best of intentions, and it's fine as a refresher during Patriot Week or something like that, but patriotic people already do what's best for the country and the state and our town. They already put doing the right thing ahead of their own self-interest. They already respect the institutions and choose civil discourse without resorting to violence when things don't go their way or someone doesn't agree with them. They treat other Americans and non-Americans with dignity and respect, not violence. So you can understand how disconcerting it is for me to think that others would need this much reminding. Truly patriotic people don't need to remind themselves over and over and over again. Although, granted, there are people who are not always doing the right things, and it wouldn't hurt for them to be reminded over and over again. I saw the attribute, and I don't know who that fella is, but the fact that you had one told me that you might have been expecting a little bit of pushback, so here it is. It shouldn't be that much work to persuade yourself or convince others that you're patriotic. Your deeds speak for you every day. Oh, my notes. And I know that the knee-jerk reaction will be, oh, that Barb, she's not a patriot, she doesn't love the country, she's fill in the blank with whatever derisive term is going around these days. But it's exactly the opposite of that. I love our country, I love our town, I love our state. It's very deep, but it's very private. And there's something about just reiterating it that I found disturbing when I read it. And I can also imagine somebody saying, but we say the pledge and we pledge our allegiance to the flag, and yes, but it's different. And if you don't see the difference, at least know that you don't see the difference. At least understand that the differences between denotation and connotation either elude you or, I guess that's the best word, it just eludes you. You're not grasping the nuance. Reasonable people and people looking in from the outside know exactly what this means, even if you don't. Perhaps In closing, perhaps mandating that anyone recite this is not the best way in the world to encourage actual patriotism, because in the end, reading the words doesn't make you a patriot. Being patriotic makes you a patriot. Thank you.
Thank you, Barb.
Mike Sanello, you up?
Mike Sanello, 111 Willow Springs. So you guys are probably all aware that I don't like to complain at the podium without providing a solution. I talked at the last town council meeting about amending the proposed hot work ordinance to remove 2 words, produces or, from section 24B. And it kind of got alluded to why that was the case. So the sentence, this section of the sentence that I care about is produces or uses spark, flame, or heat. So when it comes to things like heat, friction produces heat. This is a part of the laws of thermodynamics. They're some of the best understood laws of physics. If we're talking about using heat, something like a welding torch uses heat. If we're talking about using flame, an acetylene torch uses open flame. I'm not sure what in the building processes uses sparks, but as far as I think the intent of the law, the proposed ordinance, I think the intent here is to be concerned with things that are in any way reasonably likely to produce an unintended fire. Something like sanding cabinets with a belt sand, we would use an orbital sander, or using a belt sander on a door in an old building like at West Street, like we have all along West Street, where the door frames may not be perfect, so you got to use a belt sander to shave off, a 16th to an 1/8 of an inch of that door to get it to line up just right. That's going to produce heat. So if we're going to tone this down to a way that it doesn't allow for an expansion that I don't think anyone would agree with here. I talked last time about trimming downspouts. They're aluminum for the most part. They do technically produce sparks. You're not going to see them in all likelihood because they burn out almost instantaneously. Drilling into metal studs. So if you're hanging a backer board on metal studs, which they didn't do at my office, which they should have done, but if you're drilling back, if you're pre-drilling your attachments of backer board into metal stud, that's going to produce heat. So I think if we get rid of just those 2 words, it's going to alleviate a lot of concerns over the scale of the application of this proposed ordinance. So procedurally, and I'm sure our Attorney DeVille can speak to this, I would like to hear, after the motion is made to approve the ordinance, an amendment to remove produces or from 24B, and then a motion to approve as amended. To address some statements that might come up, if we're talking about somebody not enforcing it as it's read, as it's written, if you're going to say, Mike, that's clearly not the intention of the bill. I know, that's why I'm proposing an amendment to it. Our current fire marshal isn't going to enforce it to the letter of the law, the letter of the ordinance the way you're describing. Okay, that's a policy of selective enforcement. I'm sure Attorney DeVella can speak about policies of selective enforcement. So I don't think this is too much to ask for. I think this really ameliorates the concerns about this being, if we do have a fire marshal that decides to enforce this the way I've described, then we're talking about this permit being required for every commercial construction or renovation job. So those 2 words from 24B, strike produces or. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
No more public participation, Mayor.
Thank you. Is anybody on the phone? Next, consent agenda, Katie.
Yep, okay. I'd like to move to approve the consent agenda items 5A and B, items C, 1 and 2, and item D. I moved it. You're seconding it?
Yep.
Okay.
Any discussion on the consent agenda?
Yes, I'd like to just
Okay.
let the public know, per the Parks and Rec and Youth Agency request. The Parks and Rec, one of their items is they have generously given a Christmas tree from Mr. and Mrs. Christopher Prouse of New Milford. They have to be placed outside the front entrance of the town hall, and Parks and Rec Department would like to thank them for their continued generosity. They've also got a 50th anniversary replica of the town's bandstand. It was donated by the New Milford Chamber of Commerce. And they would also like to thank Denise Del Mastro of the Chamber of Commerce for that generosity. The Parks and Rec Department is, what they've received is, and they'd like to accept the following: $50 from Meadowbrook Gardens, $200 from Aquarian Water Supply, and $75 from the Savings Bank of Danbury. The Youth Agency is, what we would approve is that they be permitted to accept a $5,000 donation. It is an anonymous donation. It will be used to provide additional employment opportunities for New Milford youth and support the existing student volunteers and their projects. The awarded amount of money would be deposited into an account recommended by the finance director. That's that.
Good.
I have an amendment to the minutes on page 6 of 7. Ms. Ram said multiple dwelling units could provide for affordable housing. Please change affordable housing to low-cost housing. I made that distinction.
Where's that,
Page 6 of 7 of the minutes.
for the second paragraph?
Top of the page. Yeah, second paragraph. Just affordable housing to low-cost housing, because there's a double meaning for affordable housing. Thank you.
Okay. We have a motion and a second.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
may I?
Absolutely.
You know, we always hear that the monies will be put into accounts as determined by the Director of Finance. So the Youth Agency has gotten this wonderful donation of $5,000. How do we see where that ends up? And how does the Youth Agency access those funds when they need it? It's a lot of money, and I'd like to be sure that there's a...
Great question. We have Jason, who's here. So Jason, can you speak about how you would get the money and then how you would spend the money?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Town Council. So in situations like that, where it's almost an unexpected happening, we have a line item in our general fund that's donations. So depending on the usage, whether it's going to be, for this instances, we're looking to fund youth personnel, high school employees at our childcare sites, video crew, you name it. So yes, we can put it into that donations line item, but I need to work with the finance director on expending that money and possibly setting up, a counter expense. So how that would work is we receive the money, we hopefully it gets approved, and then I work with the finance director to make sure that we can properly spend it depending on its usage, whether it's materials and supply, but that donation, we do have a line item in our general fund. If it was a grant, we utilize outside of the general fund now with a grant account.
So this is additional employment opportunities for New Milford youth and supporting what you already do. So this is money that is not budgeted because you didn't know it was coming.
We didn't know it was
Correct.
coming, correct.
But it will be expended as if it had been budgeted.
Absolutely, in the sense
Right.
that it just increases our availability to hire either more students or expand the opportunities of the existing students to give them either additional hours or additional projects to work on.
And this is a wonderful gift, but probably not going to be seen again. Then what?
Then we count our blessings and we say with this year we were able to offer $5,000 additional dollars worth of services to utilize for our youth. And again, most likely, meeting with my staff, it will be additional video programming opportunities with our video crew staff, childcare support staff and working with them, as well as any other opportunities where we could offer more availability of youth employment, at least during this fiscal year. So yes, it's not promised. However, it's taking advantage of that money and looking to see where we could supply that money to help the students take advantage of it in the here and now. So yeah, it's unbudgeted, but we're surely going to take full advantage of it.
So hopefully we'll have an idea when you present your next budget, whether or not you'll be looking for additional funds as a result of having this opportunity?
Yeah,
Or,
this, again, so if we were to get another $10,000 donation, obviously that money
it's
could
only
be.
5, but okay.
So say if we were to get another donation, I'm just, I'm thinking, we would obviously have to look at the purpose and then the time and what the agency needs. This money is going to help support our annual Youth Service Bureau state grant, where we get that every year and we are able to budget student employees as involved in our childcare and involved in our video program, as well as funding students up at Sullivan Farm. So this money will help to grow those programs, where the annual money is there to support this, but this is just almost like a boost.
Of course.
Who's on the call?
Hello? Who's on the phone?
Doug?
Okay, so
Sorry,
I'm just
Jason.
eager to hear about it after you get to use it.
No,
that's all.
absolutely.
Right.
And Jason, also for the edification of the council, people in the audience and people watching on here, right? We don't budget donation money because it's not operational.
Gotcha.
So it's one-time money, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And second, we do have grant money that we did use this year to have lots of our kids work during the summer. And that's
Absolutely.
partnering with the Northwest Workforce Investment Board. This is our, third year that we partnered with, fourth.
Yep.
With them and also with Park and Rec, where we're able to take those children, both of a special need capacity and also income eligible, providing for job opportunities there.
Correct.
And we have the ability to grow that if we continue to show the promise that we do each and every summer, correct?
Absolutely. And we've been able to, this is our second year where they've extended that program into the school year. So we've been able to look at the availability of the funding left available to offer positions for those students into the school year. And that's a phenomenal program where it services students age 14 to 21. And there are qualifiers, like you said, children with special needs, DCF or foster care, and or free or reduced lunch. So this is a opportunity that offers students first-time job experience, as well as learning how to be a successful and a prominent almost partner in the workforce. And those students are involved in our childcare video program, as well as we partner with Sullivan Farm.
Awesome. Thanks,
Great.
Jason.
Thank you
Any
very
last
much.
questions? Thank you all.
Thank you. All right. Any other discussion on the consent agenda? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Mayor's comments?
Thank you, Katie. Couple of quick comments. First, congratulations to the New Milford High School varsity football team for their 29-14 win over New Fairfield. So now they're going to be the first time ever, they're going to be going to state competition. And tomorrow night, they play number 3 ranked Maloney High School. So we wish the team much success and luck, and congratulations on being the first team to go states from New Milford. Also want to thank everyone that came out to the tree lighting that we had, very successful tree lighting this past Saturday. Special thank you to the New Milford Chamber of Commerce, their president Jennifer Birdseye, chamber board members that were there, Debbie Faust and Patty Olberg, executive director Denise Del Mastro. Thank you to Chief Ceruto, Chris Prouse from the United Methodist Men's Club, and they put up their 17 Christmas trees on the green this year, including a very special one at the southern part of the green that honors our soldiers and veterans. Thank you to the Milford Garden Club and the Park and Rec team for decorating the trees in the bandstand and the town hall. Also wanted to thank Bethany Conkey, as she was the DJ for the ceremony as well. Also, everyone that helps supports our small business community and that participated in the first day, which was Small Business Saturday. Also want to thank Santa Claus. He was there too,
Don't forget.
and he led the countdown on the trees, and he stayed after to hear the request of our young residents and what they wanted for Christmas. Also wanted to thank, for Thanksgiving, I want to thank Social Services Director Ivana Butera and our Social Services team. We delivered some Thanksgiving meals and food to some of the homebound residents. And also wanted to thank Oddfellows and the Palm Rebeccas, as they did 78 Thanksgiving dinners for those in need on Thanksgiving. Also wanted to congratulate Lori Antonucci, as she just opened up Guiding Light Wellness at the Bleachery. And that's a holistic approach to reverse and prevent disease using fundamental healing approaches, Reiki, hypnosis, life coaching, diet, nutrition, advising, spiritual advising. And we wish her much luck and thank you for her investment in New Milford. Also want to talk quickly about the New Milford High School roof project. The contractor continues with panel installation. They were working on facing the roof facing the school courtyard. They were continuing with the rake clips that are being installed. The low slope work is completed for now, but they'll finish that up in the spring when we have warmer temperatures. I'd like to turn over quickly to Chief Ceruto for a moment. And the chief's going to talk a little bit about traffic, right, Chief? A little bit about traffic and what we're doing to kind of counteract and the surprising statistics that we have with traffic enforcement. Chief?
Yeah, so good evening, everyone. I'm very happy to be here representing the men and women of the New Milford Police Department. They're doing an excellent job, by the way, and I'm so proud of the work they do. And one area they've been working very hard at is traffic enforcement. And we know that that's one area where we can really have an impact. We can do our job and conduct traffic enforcement, and we can see an outcome. And we've seen an outcome in a reduction of accidents this year. Officers have made over 1,250 motor vehicle stops this year, and they've been doing a good job being fair to the community and enforcing in a just and equitable way. So they give out about 1/3 of their stops infractions. They give out written warnings in another third of their stops, and verbal warnings in the other 33% of their stops. So I credit the officers with doing their job, but also doing it fairly. Like I said, we've had 1,250 or so motor vehicle stops, and I think that's had an effect on motor vehicle accidents in our town this year. Not only have the motor vehicle accidents come down, but it just seems that the average speeds have come down in certain areas where we've been enforcing traffic regulations. So we work by enforcement. Education is another big part of what we do. So we work to get the word out through Facebook and through our social media outlets. We conduct videos, and we do various speaking opportunities at different organizations throughout the town. So education's another big part. We also use certain equipment. We have new laser devices that we're using. We also have our radar trailer that we're using, and the speed trailer has been very effective. It not only has that impact of slowing people down immediately, but it gives us a lot of data. For example, we had it up on Route 7 for a week, and we were amazed that tens of thousands of vehicles went past that trailer in a week's time, and that's only in one direction. So, we think that there could be upwards of 40 or 50,000 vehicles just traveling up and down Route 7 on a weekly basis, and that's an amazing amount of traffic and a big responsibility to keep that traffic moving safely. But I did mention accidents, and last year we had 1,232 accidents in town, which we felt was on the higher side, so we wanted to work to reduce that. And right now we're at about 850 accidents. So we have 4 more weeks to go, and we expect to be in under 20% less accidents this year. So I'm very happy with that outcome, and like I said, it wouldn't be possible without the hard work of the men and women who get out there every day and do it, but also the community. The community is our partner, and the community is obviously very helpful in this cause.
I know, Chief, we were talking a little bit about this today when we were meeting, was Notify New Milford. So we've been able to connect where residents can opt in, or they can look at the Facebook page and see when there's an accident, so they can plan accordingly and not get there. That create quite an awareness. And we've seen that the public, has said, wow, there's all these accidents. Well, now they're understanding because now they're seeing them. But we also talked that with, people being more attuned to it, we've actually seen the numbers decrease even a little more than they even did previously. So we're seeing also community engagement,
Yes.
community involvement, people saying, you know, we need to go slower, we need to really watch when we're going to the intersections, that's
Yes.
playing a role as well as with enforcement of
It
the
is. It's very
police
interesting.
department.
Yeah, transparency in all avenues really has helped us. And we've found that over the years, the more transparent we can be, the more we communicate with the public, the better effect we can have on whatever issue we're working together with the public on. So Notify New Milford was definitely one of those avenues that we utilized to get the information out.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank
I think it was great for the council to know that we have those.
I have two questions.
Sure.
Do we have an update? Do we have an update on the catalytic converter issue?
Yes, we've had some success in that area. Brookfield obviously has a suspect they're working on arresting, and we're working with their detectives also to try to connect our cases to their case. We haven't had a catalytic converter theft in over a month, so definitely a steep decline.
Great.
Yes.
And with regard to all those infractions, school buses, people passing school buses, is that a percentage of?
Yep, that is a percentage, and that's one of the areas that we've been focusing on. As a matter of fact, we had an interesting operation where we had an unmarked car following school buses, and it really worked well for us because obviously when there's a marked car in the area, people tend to drive a little more carefully. But this operation worked well, and it worked so well that I'm going to do it again.
Great, thank you.
In regards to the traffic accidents, have fatalities gone up, or is that also the same?
Fatalities
marker?
are up. We've had 5 fatalities this year. On average, we have 3 or 4. So this year we are upticked. 2 of those fatalities involved pedestrians, and obviously they're still under investigation, but there were various factors that contributed to the accidents, and in some cases it was not necessarily speed.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for the chief?
Just a quick question.
Sal?
Thanks so much, Mr. Chief Secretary, for helping us. What do you think the biggest challenge we're facing? I'm driving Route 7 every day between, I don't know, like Bridge and to go to Home Depot and Walmart, and I see
Yes.
some lunatics driving
Yes.
over there. So what's your take on this one? It's quite a few of them.
Yeah, my take on it is there's a very high volume of traffic. People obviously are distracted. I think distracted driving is a big part of our problem. You know, and obviously speed is something we have to work on, but the high volume in that transient volume of traffic, in other words, people coming from other areas into our town who may not understand the intricacies of the roadway or have the same sense of community that our citizens do. Nevertheless, I think if we continue on this trend, if we continue to do what we're doing now and keep working hard at it, I think we're going to see that we're going to be in a better place even next year.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, chief.
Thank you very much.
And lastly, I spoke with Jack Healy and Mike Boucher. We're now approaching into our winter forecasts or for more ice this year, similar to what we had last year. And as Jack will tell you, ice cost, Jack, what, about twice as much when we do ice versus regular snow?
It can, yes, it does.
And with inflation, we just found out that our material costs are going to be triple. And so, triple. Because of inflation and because of the shortages. So what does that mean? So basically, when I talked to Jack and Mike, it means an additional $399,644 that we're going to need to just get the same amount of salt and sand that we had last year. I spoke with Randy DeBella because we are going into the winter months, and we do need to purchase the salt and sand because there's a line, as Jack will tell you, and we could have facing a shortage of this too. So I spoke with Randy, and Randy can opine on it. Due to Section 808, emergency appropriations, I am using the emergency appropriations of the charter to do a salt and sand inflation request in the amount of $399,644, and that money would come from determined by the finance director. I will recommend it to come from the surplus this year, but that will be something I'll talk about a little bit later. Also, in speaking with Jack and also looking at the markets, most of our vehicles, whether they be fire apparatus or town apparatus, especially our bigger trucks, run on diesel fuel. Here in the Northeast, we have 25% inventory here. They're calling for shortages. There could be big problems. And what happens if we don't have diesel? Our trucks don't run, our fire equipment doesn't run, big problems. So I asked Jack to take a look to see if we can have a rental of a diesel tank, which we can do. We can rent a diesel tank, 8,000 gallon tank, because Jack felt that would be the most appropriate. Looking to do it for 7 months. It's $1,500 a month, which equivocates to $10,500. Under Section 808 of the Charter, Emergency Appropriations, I'm requesting that we do the 8,000 gallons, $1,500 a month, $10,500. Total emergency requests of both comes to $410,144. So Randy, does this fall, in your opinion, under Section 808 of Emergency Appropriations?
Absolutely. And you should also know there are other towns in Litchfield County that are doing the same thing.
I know.
So you're going to be in a competitive basis anyway.
Absolutely.
So it clearly is an exigent circumstance that needs to be met.
Thank you, Randy. And I'll talk more about where I think we can come up with the money. I'm thinking surplus, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get down to the agenda. Katie?
Thank you. Want to move on to item number 7. I'd like to move to approve the reappointments and appointments as followed. 7A, the reappointment of Lee Krag, sorry if I said that wrong, to the Film Commission, Craig? Film Commission, a term to be November 28th, 2022 through January 31st, 2026. The appointment of Jane Rush to the Aging Commission, that'd be the Commission on Aging, term of November 28th, 2022, also January 31st, 2026. And finally, the appointment of Adrian Angel to the Housing Partnership, the term of November 28th, 2022. This runs through January 31st of 2024.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Was that Tom?
That's
Yep.
Tom.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Any abstention? Any
Aye.
abstentions? Thank you. Katie?
Yes, item number 8, I'd like to move to accept the request from the Arts Commission to close the Southern Crossover on the Green on December 17th from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. for the annual Carol Sing. This, of course, is pending the Traffic Authority approval.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Thank you.
Okay. Item number 9. I'd like to move, I think we'll just not move this. I think you go ahead and we'll discuss. This is item number 9A. The Board of Education is requesting the Council and the Board of Finance to remove $233,980 from the Board of Ed Capital Reserve account to fund the proposed New Milford High School woodshop HVAC recommendation. That's item A.
Yep.
Do we have
And
any-
in your, thank you, Tom.
I didn't, wait, Tom, I didn't make a motion. I didn't.
No motion, sorry, I retract.
I didn't see anybody here.
Okay.
I thought-
Do we have anybody from the board here? Okay.
Okay, then
So we
that is
have-
a motion that I just made.
Okay, so that's a motion. Tom, did you second it?
Second, yes,
Okay,
sir.
so if you look in your package, you'll see the memorandum that was distributed from Wendy Fallenbach, our Board of Ed chairperson. And we'll make sure this is for the minutes, Stephanie, where they talk about the funding for, I believe this one would probably be for B.
Yep.
A is
A
for the wood shop that currently is not.
A.
Jack, can you talk a little bit about the wood shop? Yeah, this
A
one
was
is
the
for
only
B.
one I read.
Yeah, we're talking about A right now.
The wood shop. The wood shop was built when the school was built, around 2000. And what we found after the first fire, I hate saying one fire two. But after the first fire, when we started looking at the air handling system, the air returned from the wood shop was through an open ductwork into the other parts of the building. That does not meet the building code, and so therefore the air handling system for the wood shop has to be modified to meet the current code. You should not have a open plenum going from an area where you have wood dust into another area where there's just open plenum for regular classrooms. So as part of this, the municipal building committee asked Silva Petrocelli to look at it. They did an initial study, and that study was presented to the school, and that's where so the school has that information.
Any questions? Okay. Oh, yep.
So, initially, when the school was built, it was built to code, and I believe this was a change in code that was observed as a result of the fire?
That's not the information I have to this point.
Wasn't built to code.
Interesting, because I've heard something different. So that's, okay, this is
It was not
important to
built
know.
code?
I gave the information to the municipal building committee and to the building official, and I asked for their opinion, and the building official told me it didn't meet the current code.
Current code.
Yeah.
That's correct.
I didn't go back, my information was that it didn't meet the code at the time, but I will tell you, I didn't go back and, I didn't think it was part of what I was doing, so I didn't go back and do a lot of research on it.
Do you mean, Alex, it's that some amendments or
Some
things were
changes.
changed when after the building was built 20 years
Correct.
ago?
And then it wasn't discovered until the fire. So that's one thing.
That would mean that the
That's not
inspection at the
correct.
time, no, I don't think so, yes. It would have been seen at the
not correct.
inspection, right? Do we have somebody here from the building department? Fire department?
Okay, so the amount that's being requested by the Board of Ed to move that money, $233,980, how much of the cost of the repair is that? Is that the full cost of the repair?
That's to bring it up according to Matt Cunningham, their facilities director. That brings it up to where it was, so that students can use the wood shop.
But had there not been a fire, we would still be using that wood shop.
Because
right?
we
Is
wouldn't
that
know.
right?
We
We
wouldn't
would
know,
never have
right?
known, right?
Well, here's the thing,
So I guess
good thing it did happen in a way,
Right.
because you know what would have happened if a spark hit that plume?
Would have been
Jack,
horrible.
Can you
Yeah, there's-
specify, or all the firemen that are sitting over there, because they were the ones that had to go to the fire, what would that have been if that plume was fully engaged? What would happen? I'll ask the chief. Chief?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Terrible,
not questioning that it needs to be done
Yeah.
at all. But what I am questioning is the full cost of doing it, because I believe, Mr. Mayor, when you were at the Board of Education in September, the minutes reflect that you were going to work with the Board of Education on something
Absolutely.
like this and help with the expense. So,
It's great you're saying that, because you're gonna see with the surplus, how we're gonna help with New Milford High School.
no, on this project.
Yeah, you're gonna see what we had to do with New Milford High School.
With the
Because
HVAC
there's more
system.
stuff
No,
than
but I'm
just
just
this.
talking about the HVAC
Correct,
system.
and that's,
I saw the
and that's
list.
and that's helping the whole thing, okay? You can't look at just one little silo for a cost. You have to
Understood.
look at the whole high school and what the whole needs of the high school are gonna be.
But we're asking the Board of Education to take $233,980 from their capital reserve,
Absolutely,
as opposed to sharing that expense with them.
okay?
And I was under the impression that there was going to be an attempt to begin the relationship of sharing some things on this particular project.
So, to answer your question, sharing first. So let's take a look at how the town shares the responsibility of capital needs for the school. $3.5 million for the Sarah Noble roof. $4.5 million, of which the Board of Ed is only contributing $400,000 to the New Milford High School roof. We did, you're asking me a question, so I'd like to
I
finish
am.
it if I could, okay? Athletic equipment, band equipment. The town also ponied up and put in new fields, new track, new lighting. Jack and I walked through the high school. with Matt Cunningham, right? And I've walked through all of the schools. So as you're gonna see, there's a tremendous amount of capital that needs to get done in the school. You will see with the surplus funds that I'm gonna ask for, I'm gonna ask for the scraping and painting of the 2 gyms that have not been done. Also of the canopy that needs to be scraped and painted that's not done, that will fully be on the town side. There will be well more than $200,000.
So, Mr. Mayor, why is it?
So in a partnership, collaboratively that we're doing, I think we've done a great job collaborating with our Board of Education and making sure that we try as best we can to provide the capital that's needed for these buildings.
Which are owned by the town, right? All the buildings are owned by the town?
They're owned by the town, but under the auspice of the Board of Education.
So
Okay, I'm going to finish mine first.
Yep.
So why is it an us and them situation?
It's not at all.
I feel that it is.
You can
It's too bad that somebody's not
you
here.
can-
Well, they are in the middle of,
You can-
they're
you-
in the
you
middle
can-
of
you can-
hiring
you-
a superintendent
You can
tonight.
feel, Councilwoman, you can feel that way, but the
I'm
proof
not
is in the
alone.
pudding. Prior to this administration, this was not done this way.
I'm not talking about prior, I'm talking
Well,
about,
I'm talking about right now, and I'm trying to tell you the tens of millions of dollars the town has invested back into the school system.
And should.
In capital, and absolutely
And should.
should. But you just pointed out and just made a statement that
Because-
you don't feel that way.
because
And
we're
you're saying that
asking-
$233,000, that I'm telling you, we're ponying up that in capital for other stuff. And there's gonna be other needs that are gonna be coming before this town
but we're
as well.
asking the Board of Education that does not have deep pockets
They
and
have
has
$3
been
mi-
underfunded, so
They're gonna
I
have
won't even
$3
go down
million
there.
in their capital.
Compared to the full amount of their budget, that's pennies compared to what the town side has. So what I'd like to suggest is that the town do more on this particular item. I love that the band got uniforms, there are all kinds of good things, I'm not denying that, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we're asking the Board of Education to take their capital reserve, that isn't huge to begin with, and things happen, and they have to go through all kinds of hoops to get that money in order to take care of business. And this is one of those items when you, sir, said in September that you were willing to work with them on
we
this
absolu-
particular
And we
project.
absolutely are.
On this particular
And we
project.
absolutely are.
That's not what this says.
But it is. So you're interpreting your own interpretation. So the fire caused lots of damage, Councilwoman. Caused damage not only to the wood shop, it also caused damage to the middle of the school. Caused damage extensively. Also, when we went and uncovered, am I correct, Jack? Other deficiencies that are in the high school. Right? So we all need to partner up and all need to put money into this building to make it so that it's safe and habitable and something we all can be proud of. And that's what we're working on doing together. And you can agree to disagree, that's great.
Right, because I don't have the votes anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Okay.
And I think this is potentially even an ARPA fund, because we can look at the percentage, you know, we got 8 million on a $42 million budget, they got 1 million on a $68 million budget. If
They
you
didn't
look
get
at those
Hillary,
percentages-
please, they didn't get 1 million. They got
Okay,
$2.33 million.
My point is it's
and
about
that's
20%
funded.
versus 1% of their budget. So I'm saying if with all of these refunds coming back, potentially we'll have $100,000 to split this cost with the Board of Ed out of that ARPA funding. This is for the children, this is the wood shop, this is a result of the fire that has been a hardship for the school, and we should be there for them for this.
100% we should be there for them. Jack?
You asked me a question, and I didn't get the
Yep.
answer. When we took the ceiling down, all the entire ductwork and everything above the classrooms in that wing was covered in wood dust, which is, it's a combustible. And we are fortunate that the fire stayed above that. It didn't catch on fire. So we had to have that all cleaned as part of this. In proper engineering, you wouldn't engineer it so that dust would go back into an open plenum in a return plenum above a classroom. And I just would like to add, there are a lot of projects going on right now between us and the school board. There's this $15 million energy project right now. We
Absolutely.
put in new boilers, cogeneration systems. new lighting. So we are trying to, we are working with them. We're working with them right now to get the permit and update their septic system at the Scatico School. I just want to let you know, there's a lot of stuff going on between the board. I've been in the Public Works Department right now. We're working, Matt and I are on the phone probably almost daily, going over projects.
That's great, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Jack. Okay.
Mayor, I have a
Next.
question.
Absolutely.
I thought that someone from the Board of Ed was going to be here to discuss this with us, which is why I didn't make the motion at the beginning,
Yeah.
because I didn't see anybody. No? Okay. Well,
So we can make the
motion
motion.
stands, and we have a second.
Okay. Any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm a no.
Okay.
Opposed only.
Opposed? Okay.
Because it should
Any
be a split.
abstentions?
Mary Jane, are you for or against?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay. Thank you.
Item 9B, I'd like to move that we approve the request from the Board of Finance to the Town Council that we remove $100,000 from the Board of Ed capital reserve account to fund expenses not to exceed that amount related to the central office move to Sarah Noble Intermediate School.
Second.
Any discussion? We have a memorandum from Chairman Fullenbach concerning the request. I'll give this to you for the minutes.
Well, I think it was
You got it already? Yeah, it's there. Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Item 10 is an update from our finance director. Did you send him the login?
Yep.
Okay. Good.
Let's see if I can, he says he's having trouble calling in this number, so let's see if we can.
It's the access codes that I
Let's see if we can.
jotted down. You got that piece of paper?
Let's see if he can pick him up on his cell
Can I have
phone.
my paper back?
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
I've got you on speakerphone.
Okay.
All right, since you can't.
Are you doing mine now?
Yep, we're doing yours now. I know you're not feeling well, but if you could update the council real quick, and then we'll let you get off the phone. As Greg is not feeling well today. Go ahead, Greg.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. This is the financial report for October. Next month, I intend to bring before you a proposal to establish an internal service fund to capture and record all activity relating to the town's ESG capital lease. The auditors have completed their work, and I am awaiting their submission of the draft financials for my review and approval. The mayor will be addressing this further in his comments. Budget season is fast approaching, and I have created the file, distributed it, and am in the process of populating the data for fiscal year 24. Revenues on a cash basis are approximately $57 million, and expenditures are approximately $33 million, leaving a positive cash flow of approximately $24 million. Taxes and interest income are above budget straight line expectations. That concludes my presentation.
Tom, mute.
Thank you, Greg. Any questions for Greg?
No, poor Greg, feel better.
Greg, feel better.
Gosh.
Thank you. All right, man. Thank you. Bye. Oof.
That's determination, huh?
Yeah,
I'll
that
tell
right.
you.
Okay.
Okay, item 11. Mayor, under you, we have the first a motion that I'll make under 11A, which would be the move to approve that we take action on the new hot work ordinance.
And,
Is there a second before we?
okay, do I have a second? Second. Thank you, Sal. And then Randy, there was talk of changing a couple of,
Those 2 words?
yeah,
That wouldn't be material to council, but it's the council's pleasure, not mine.
okay.
Can you read us the, more than a couple, Mike didn't really read the intent. Give me the intent of that area so I understand better.
It doesn't affect the content.
Ah, okay.
It just says that not produced, because the concern was that it all produces it. And you could get a fire marshal, as I understand it, to issue a stop work or not issue a permit is a matter of basic physics. Now, I'm a lawyer, and that's why I'm a lawyer, because I don't do physics, but, I'd be a cardiac surgeon if I could. But producing ore does not affect, so you need a new public hearing. It's not that material. Here's how it would read. It reads now, hot work is any activity or process that involves open flames or that generates sparks or heat and includes but is not limited to welding and allied processes, heat treating, grinding, thawing, pipes, powder-driven fasteners, which is gunpowder-driven, hot riveting, torch-applied roofing, pipe sweating, and any similar applications producing or using sparks. You would remove producing or, so it would read, any similar applications using sparks, flame, or heat. So it's up to you whether or not the production of sparks is enough of a hazard to create a hot work environment.
It doesn't change anything, though.
Doesn't change my legal, doesn't mean it means you don't need a new public hearing. It changes this a lot, those two words. But you don't need a new public hearing.
Okay.
Can I ask a separate question?
So, absolutely.
Have you heard any negative from contractors, developers?
I have not.
Any feedback negatively from that community? No, you're not.
I have not.
Okay.
So are we suggesting the change or not suggesting the
Katie?
change?
Well, I would say that I was reading this based upon the hot work ordinance as we know it, which we have, done. If we're going to change a word, we need to discuss as a council whether we want to make those changes. It isn't going to change anything as far as the intent or the scope, correct?
No, I got this language from the National Fire Protection Association.
Right. Okay.
Manuals. I drafted this from scratch.
Right. So changing the two words that, to be honest with you, I don't even remember what the words were.
Producing or.
Producing or.
Right.
As opposed to what?
Using.
Oh.
Here's the difference. When you're working on something and it creates sparks, it could cause a fire.
Yeah, I got that. Okay.
When you're working on something with sparks, it could cause a fire. It's a matter of scale, degree.
Could you say produce and or with? Produce sparks and or with sparks? I mean, I don't know why would, my personal feeling is, why would we change the way it is if it's really not that much of an.
I don't know if it is or it isn't, but that's a difference without a distinction.
Yes, that's true. No distinction. Put them both in. Mary Jane's got her hand up there, Mary.
Mary Jane?
Yeah, I'm opposed to changing it. I think we should leave it the way it is. I mean,
the way
if we had a professional coming in and telling us it had to be changed, I could see, the argument possibly, but because that's not the case, I don't think it should be changed.
I think we should change it because if it doesn't legally change anything, we don't have to have another ordinance about it. It precludes some of those smaller type jobs from being worried about falling under this umbrella and dissuading the smaller type jobs. So I think why not change it? Yeah.
Could we ask the fire marshal who's here? He's here.
Smaller type jobs could also be bigger type fires. Heat guns. People that use heat guns to actually strip paint. It's a small job.
Right.
That's using a heat though.
That's right.
That would fall under the ordinance.
Right.
If they're producing anything, it's the same thing. The fact is whether or not it's all the same thing when it comes down to it. If it's producing or using, you are still creating. And in and of itself, when you create, that's when it's going to cause a problem.
Right. So Randy, could we say, what is in there now? I'm losing track.
Here's what it says.
Producing
I'll read that
or
last
using?
sentence to you again.
Yes, please.
Thawing pipes, powder-driven fasteners, hot riveting, torch-applied roofing, pipe sweating, and any similar applications producing or using sparks, flame, or heat.
Okay. And
So
what
if it
would the
produces
change be?
sparks,
Wait,
if
I
it
got that. I
produces
know what it
flame-
means, but just tell me, what was the change suggested?
The change suggested was any similar applications using sparks, flame, or heat. It's a matter of.
rather
degree.
than producing.
Right.
Because the point is if
Well,
you're using a
couldn't we
chainsaw
say
and it
producing
produces
or
sparks.
using or producing?
That's what it says now.
Oh, well, so what is it he wants to change?
He
Wanna
wants to
take
remove
something out?
producing or.
Well, why remove it if
I'm
it's
not-
gonna?
I'm not advocating
Oh,
this.
no,
I wrote the
know.
thing.
Right. No, I'm asking you as the attorney, if we
Oh.
just leave both there, isn't that okay, as opposed to removing one?
Well, yeah, I wouldn't have drafted it this way if it wasn't okay.
I thought so.
And it
Thank
came
you.
out of the National Fire Protection Association publications.
And there we go.
But Mike raised an issue that it might be too much, because it's a degree less. In other words, it's less than, it trips the wire less than if it was you were using a flame.
But the National Fire
But
Association thought it was okay.
we have a lot of firefighting talent here.
I guess we do.
And I would rely on what they
But not
say.
builders and.
I'm also a
So-
member of the fire.
So I can see the difference as, because lots of things that you do might produce a spark that isn't going to go anywhere. I heard Mr. Sonello say that, I understood that. So I can see the difference. My suggestion would be, we go with what's suggested so far by our fire marshal and our attorney, but that we review again after, 6 months or whatever, to see how many were applied for, is it doing the job that we need, are we getting pushback from anyone? I mean, like anything else, you introduce something new, then you go back and you check to see if it's getting the work done, or is something wrong with it. That would be me.
Let's cover all bases right now.
Yeah, I just.
Cover it all.
Go with it, right, and look at it again, see if
But
somebody
make sure
says-
we do look at it again, so that we don't
Could you
miss.
put it on your calendar?
Put it on
Remind
my
us?
calendar.
That's not a bad idea.
I think we'll see if building.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We could bring it up at the municipal building committee and see what they have to say.
Yep.
So do we have a motion?
We have a motion and we have a second from Sal.
Any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Okay. Item 11B, I'd like to move that we approve the new prohibitive use of cannabis on town property ordinance.
That's a second. Any discussion?
Could we hear the wording again on that, please?
Randy, do you
On
have
the motion?
On the
Oh.
on the ordinance
Oh, oh.
itself.
Randy, do you have could you read the ordinance? Thank you.
For some reason, they're not in place.
It's not in the packet, that's
No.
last meeting.
It was in the last meeting.
It was in the last, and I took it out.
I forgot to memorize it.
No, I don't have, I'm sorry, I have the wrong file.
Okay, who's got the ordinance?
Give me 3 minutes. I can find it. Anybody.
There you go.
I'll look it up.
I have a question. Is it gonna be the exact same ordinance as the smoking ordinance? Is there any difference?
It's very similar, yes.
What's the?
Alex brought that up.
It only involves smoking, it doesn't,
What?
only involves smoking, not edibles.
Right, no edibles.
Are included.
Right.
In the ordinance.
It's just smoking.
Just smoking, correct.
So,
Oh,
the-
Mike, you found it? Awesome.
Here it is.
So
Hillary has it. Do you have it, Hillary? What?
So the motion, I want to clarify the motion.
Oh, the motion is, I will redo it.
Here's the
motion
ordinance.
was to move, to approve the new prohibitive use of cannabis on town property ordinance.
That's the confusion, because prohibitive use of cannabis doesn't say smoking of cannabis, but anyway.
Randy, can
But
you,
it's defined,
Here's what it
I
says in
believe,
it.
in
can you
the
read the ordinance?
I will. 2C-1 is the definitions, cannabis, marijuana, and vaping, as used in this chapter, this ordinance, shall have the same meaning as stated in Public Act 21-1, the so-called Responsible and Equitable Regulation of Adult Use Cannabis Act. 2C-2, the smoking and vaping of cannabis and any derivative thereof in any form on or in municipally owned or leased property is prohibited. So it's smoking and vaping.
Right.
Any person who violates this shall be subject to a fine of $250. So it doesn't include edibles.
Correct.
It's smoking and vaping.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Mike.
And we have a motion?
Yes.
Second?
Second.
And we have a second?
Yes.
Paul
Yes.
second. Discussion?
So same one as last time. Why do we need a separate ordinance when we already have a no smoking ordinance?
Why do we need a separate one?
Right.
Need a separate one because we're introducing Randy. Can you?
Because this is a situation that is authorized statewide by the legislature, by statute, just like smoking is authorized. So that's why you have it in the local municipalities, the local jurisdictions make this determination to ban it on public property. That's why.
Smoking
Because
is smoking regardless of what
But
you're
it's,
smoking.
the definition now becomes, because we have something other than smoking,
Yeah.
plain vanilla
Smoking or
smoking.
vaping.
Now we have the
Vaping.
cannabis.
Right, and that happened up at one of the restaurants in Litchfield. It used to be the old, it's not a materia, it was La Cupola. A gentleman was in there vaping. Nobody knew anything. Oh, you see this little steam coming up, and they said there's no smoking in here, and the guy refused to stop. So that actually happened. Probably stuff like that is anecdotal happened, I guess, when they did the legislation.
But it was enough to add the vaping.
Yeah,
Yep.
and Litchfield, by the way, banned the sale of cannabis in the town.
So,
Okay.
any other discussion on the ordinance? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm a no.
Okay, any abstentions? Thank you.
You're the only no, you guys are in favor?
Mr. Mayor, I'll deliver these ordinances to the town clerk. They'll be effective
Thank you, Randy.
21st day after publication.
Okay.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Item 11C, Mayor, would be discussion on the 2022-23 surplus, which is subject to final audit.
Yep, thank you. All right. I'm gonna, there's permission on the projector here.
Took my paper. All right, that's mine.
And tonight, I'm just going to be speaking on the town portion of the projected surplus, and this is obviously due to final audit. The Board of Education, once we get the final numbers from the auditors, I'll bring that forward also to the Town Council, Board of Finance, and I'm sure the board, Wendy, will be here too to join me in talking about that with you at the council. So the first thing is, how did we get and arrive at a surplus which is subject to final audit? So there's a revenue component to it and an expenditure component to budgets. So this year, revenues, I'm glad to say, were very strong. It shows our resiliency here in New Milford. It shows our grand list growth, shows growth in motor vehicles, shows growth in personal property, shows growth in our grand list, commercial and residential. So with property taxes, that's the property taxes aren't up 17 million, they're up 1,788,755. Licenses and permits are up 194,675. Intergovernmental is up 92,833. Charges for services, that'd be like conveyance fees and whatnot. That's up 556,979. Investment earnings, even though we had prior to the inflationary spike, we still managed to produce an additional 20,590 from our budgeted numbers. And then in other revenues, which would be state funding that we got that we didn't think we would be getting, $612,772. That gave total revenue adjustment to the positive of $3,296,604. The next is the highlights on the expenditures. So we continue to watch our expenditures on a weekly basis. I meet with the department heads weekly, and we go over. Our budgeted expenditures approved at budget were $106,292,000. $988. Our actual cost this year, actual expenditures, were $103,625,891. That left for a better term, cash flow differential of $2,667,102. So total revenues over expenditures is $5,933,706. A positive change to the fund balance, meaning that this was added into our fund balance, is $856,040. So our town surplus that we're projecting and talking with our auditors has to be subject to the final audit is $5,077,666.
Wow.
Now, some of the highlights too. This is the second year in a row that we have not used waste management money. Prior to me being mayor, we were almost up to $1.3 million a year in using waste management funds. I'm proud to say it's the second year in a row we've used none to support the budget. We also this year increased our fund balance by $856,40. We have an extremely strong bond rating, as we've talked about before. Our rates when we go to market are lower than AAA Fairfield County towns. And that's due to great financial stewardship by our town department heads, our policies and procedures that have been put in place. So this is all very good news to our residents, our taxpayer, and our business community. So I say let's put this money to work. With inflation running at a current 8 to 12% in real world terms, not a bunch of garbage that they feed you on the news, purchasing capital items now, as we've done for the last 5 years, has saved us a ton of money. It will give us a better return on our investment than waiting as inflation eats away at our funds and increases capital costs and increases our municipal budget. So there's 3 phases to my proposal. Phase 1 would be town council approval. I'm requesting that of the surplus, $3,288,911 of the 2021-2022 surplus be placed in the town capital reserve fund subject to final audit. Phase 2, if approved, I will be asking for the following capital items to then be appropriated out of the town capital reserve subject to audit, and there'll be a next set of slides for the requests. This will then also have to be approved by the Board of Finance and approved at a town meeting. So, meeting with our department heads, I'd ask them what are their basic needs when it comes to our capital requests or capital items. And these are items that we would normally may have to put in the budget, which then would increase our cost to our taxpayer. Why would we double dip? If we have the ability to do this as we've done in all the years prior, why wouldn't we do this? So let's start with Public Works. I'd ask Mike Boucher and Jack Healy, and they are here tonight. So if you have any, Chuck, if you have any questions concerning these, they'd be glad to answer them for you. So the first is a chip truck. Approximate cost $125,000. So Mike, I'm just gonna ask you, why do we need a chip truck?
Right now, we're using an old dump truck with a wooden box on it. And the dump truck probably shouldn't be out every day, but we need to use it every day. The capacity of the dump truck body is a lot less than we could get if we actually bought it. Yeah, I'm sorry. The capacity of what we use is only about 7 or 8 yards worth of chips. A truck like that would allow us, 15 yards of chips. It's just, for what we do with it, it's the right thing to do.
And what about the chipper?
We have a chipper now that they use every day. We have a backup chipper that has been there. I've been there 22 years, and it's probably been with us 21 years, so it needs to be replaced at this point. With the larger storms we're getting, the more, the bigger amounts of damage we see, we could use the second chipper.
And Mike, with the blessing of the town council, all right, and the Board of Finance, and at a town meeting, we purchased a we purchased a
Bucket truck.
bucket truck, right?
Right.
So, as we have the largest tree canopy in the whole state of Connecticut, we have a lot of emerald ash that needs to get taken down. So, by us actually working as a DPW with our own tree crew in tandem with our third-party vendor, right, who we go out to bid with, how successful has that been in us being able to do storm proactively cutting down trees so that our power doesn't go out, as well as trying to attack the ash?
Right.
How's that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
How's that?
Let's use last night as an example. We had some wind come through last night. We had 2 trees come down onto the roads. A year ago, we probably would have had 5 or 6, 13, who knows? By taking out the amount of trees we've been taking out, I don't know if anybody notices the pile at Century Brass, but it's big. We get rid of it, it's big again real fast. We've been hitting very hard on like I say, the ashes. There's elm tree disease. There's a lot of dead trees in this town that are, by taking them down, we've made a huge dent in storm damages that, Eversource doesn't have to come for, or, roads aren't blocked, that kind of thing.
Thank you, Mike. And what about a grapple truck for $250,000?
Right now, we run a almost $400,000 piece of equipment with a grapple on it that goes 20 miles an hour all over town picking up wood. It's really not cost effective for one thing. We're using a machine that's really not made to do that. And again, that would make the process that much more streamlined. We'd get a whole lot more done that way.
And here's a new thing, right? So a remote mower. So we have a lot of different types of elevations. We have it here at Youngsfield Road, right Youngsfield.
Yep.
We have it over here, right? Dan, have it over here at the park.
Holton Meadows.
The Holton Meadows. We also have the reservoir,
property.
right? Property, and we got to maintain it and mow it. Or we put 6 or 8 people out with, right? With weed whackers and try and weed whack.
Right.
So this remote mower can do that with one person, right?
One guy with a remote control, and he watches it mow.
Okay. What about the tire balance machine for $10,000?
We have a pretty large fleet of vehicles here in town. We do all our own repairs at this point. Chuck knows probably better than anybody right now. They change the tires on his truck. He goes down the road like this. We have no way to balance. We'd have to pay somebody to do it every time. This just gets us out of that so that our own mechanics can complete the job in-house.
And tools for mechanics?
I wish I'd have brought the pictures to see what they're using. They're using tools that are 25 years old, some of them. The toolboxes are more rusty than they are metal at this point. It's time for them to upgrade their tools.
And then the DPW large trucks, for those that don't know, those are here in the audience, and those are watching, and maybe some of our council members, those are the big trucks that plow our roads. Right? Those are the big trucks that we use to move drainage, to do things during the non-winter months, correct? And those, you guys put a lot of miles on those things, right?
Absolutely.
To do the great work that you do. So adding 2 more to our fleet, because we've done a great job with council approval, or finance approval and town meetings. Plus, we were able to use grant funding for 2, taking some of the higher emissions ones off. This is going to do what to the fleet by adding 2
Well,
more?
it'll get rid of a couple of borderline trucks that need to go. They're past their age at this point. It'll make our fleet that much more safer, that much more efficient, less downtime for trucks. The newer the fleet, the better we can react to things.
Okay. And 2 of those, you can see they're pretty significant priced, $238,569. And that's current pricing, right, Mike?
Correct.
And if we decide to hold off on that, we're probably going to see a pretty good escalation.
The last pair of trucks, I believe, were in the 205 to 210 range, so it goes up a lot each year.
And just the ability to get them.
Right, lead time, if we order these trucks tomorrow, we'll be lucky to see them by the end of next summer, maybe.
Next, oops, the New Milford Police Department. Chief, Captain. So we have for you 3 patrol SUVs, and they are at $164,193 in today's dollars. You know, if we don't act now, obviously, price goes up, right? Correct. So if you could talk a little bit about Chief and Captain, the need for 3 patrol SUVs.
Yes, I'd like to say that I wholeheartedly support this proposal. It's a need, not a want. It's something that we need to do as soon as possible, and this seems to be an excellent opportunity because we have just that, an excellent opportunity to obtain these vehicles. And I'm going to let Captain Wilcoxon speak on this.
Sure, we've done a little bit of research. There's still a few 2022 vehicles out there that are on state contract. The state contract expires this December. Prices are going to go up, expected $10,000 to $12,000 per vehicle. So if we can't act soon enough, we can expect within the next year to be paying, roughly $12,000 more for each vehicle. So even if you put it out to a competitive bid, you're still looking at thousands, tens of thousands of dollars. Of the 3 vehicles we would end up retiring, each one of them has at least 110,000 miles on it, and that's today's miles, not, as Mike said, what they're going to be at next year by the time the vehicles actually show up. And those miles may not sound high, but if you think about a police patrol vehicle, they're running 8 hours a day or 8 hours a shift, so the actual miles as opposed to the hours put on those engines is an awful lot. So the oldest police vehicle we're looking at to replace is actually a 2011, and 11 years old for a police vehicle is quite old.
Thank you, Chief. And also we have here, and we're also going to talk about this with the Milford Fire request too, our Incident Center Command, I'm putting command posts, and those are, actually I'd like to defer to a moment to Chief. Chief, what is a command incident center? How's that going to be important for, say, the fire that we had at the high school?
Basically, it's another hub for us, another command center, so we can work out of. Like the police, we were trying to set up another spot in our Waynesville fire station in case there's an issue up in town at the police station, say a tornado hits. They have another place to go. So that's how we can work together.
And these are mobile pieces, right? So if you're at the center, you can
take it wherever you want.
Yeah, take it wherever you want, know logistically where your forces are, right?
Exactly.
And it's better that
you have to have communication.
All 3 departments have the same one, plus the police department all can communicate better. Thank you, Chief. So that's the request for the police department. The New Milford Fire, $50,000. And that's an inflation adjustment for future fire vehicles. So, Chief Harris.
So we have our capital fund that every year the town generously puts money into. As in everything else that we've seen, we've experienced a hyperinflation in the equipment that we use, okay? We have planned out 5 years for our apparatus purchases. And this year, in the budget season, obviously we requested more, we got less. But in order to keep on track with the schedule that we have outlined for our vehicles, we requested the additional sum to keep it so that we wouldn't go negative and have to postpone purchases.
Thank you, Chief. And then Chief Kurt, the hydraulic spreader. So for those that don't know what that is.
It's the jaws of life. We have it on one of our older vehicles down at Lanesville. Runs off a hydraulic, and they have to be inspected every year. This year, when we got it inspected, we were thinking 3 or 4 more years down the road that this tool would be good for. They told us this year, pretty much not going to be able to use it next year. So we want to use new technology. You don't have to get tested every year. What's called an e-tool. We're getting 2 tools for that money. One's a spreader and one's a cutter. So you can cut cars up fast and quick. You don't have the hydraulic lines, so we can go over the bank quick with them. We have a set already up in one truck in Grove Street, and we'd like to outfit this truck before the hydraulics spreaders quit on us. So,
And Chief, those are much needed, especially if you're called to Route 7, if there's some kind of high-speed traffic incident.
Correct.
Thank you, Chief. And then we have the 3 command incident centers we spoke of before, so that all 3 fire departments plus the Milford Police Department can all be in unison when it's needed, which hopefully it isn't, but we would be prepared for it. Next is Park and Rec. Dan? Yes. So Park and Rec, let's go over the final tractor lease for the tractor that you currently have.
Okay. Yeah, that's a lease that we have our final payment that's due this year, and once we pay this, we will own this tractor for as long as we can keep it. And right now it's in great shape. We're going to plan to have it for a long time, so this is our final payment.
Great. And the creation, Laura came up with a wonderful opportunity. And by the way, the kayak program is COVID safe, because you're out in the outdoors. She's talking about a creation of a kayak program.
Yes, so unfortunately Laura's apologizes that she couldn't be here tonight, but we reviewed it today together. It would be the purchase of a trailer that would be able to move the kayaks and equipment around.
It's 10 kayaks.
10
right?
kayaks, 10 pairs of paddles, PFDs, and like I said, the trailer that we'd be able to tow to whatever site we wanted to go to.
And I know, Dan, she's talking about training people how to do kayaks, and then also offering kayak tours.
Yes.
Up to Housatonic, also in Lendemi, which would also be a great expansion of our tourism that we have, that we're trying to do, create additional tourism, whether it be it's our hikes, our trails, our river walk, kayaks, Lendemi. It's just another thing in our toolkit. Okay. And the tennis court crack repair.
Okay, our tennis courts are getting to the age where, unfortunately, there are asphalt tennis courts, which, if anybody knows anything about asphalt, it does crack, and because of the climate that we have in New England, a lot of freeze and thaw, so it does crack. So before it becomes a safety issue, we want to repair these cracks. Unfortunately, I'll be coming back to you again in the future to do it again if it gets unsafe, which in the future I know we're going to be looking at a different style of tennis court, but that's in our future plans.
And Dan, how about a zero-turn mower?
Okay. As many of you know, we have 20 parks in town, plus we maintain all the town office buildings. So we would like to trade in an old front deck mower that we have and get a zero turn, which they're much more efficient. We can get a lot more work done with one of these machines.
3/4 ton pickup.
Okay, our current 3/4 ton pickup is over 12 years old, has a plow on it, and it's time for that to be replaced.
The aeration machine, for those that don't know what an aeration machine is.
Okay, if anybody has if you have a yard or turf that you are trying to maintain, what an aeration machine does is pulls plugs out of your turf, so oxygen, water, and other nutrients can get down to the roots of the grass. This is actually an aerator, so it actually, when the tines go into the subsoil, it actually shatters it and breaks it up, so there's no more compaction. And then as you drive it, it actually puts seed down at the same time. So this is a huge time saver, and will help our maintain grasses, especially like the town green that gets so much foot traffic. And as we can see, over the years, the compaction, you see bare spots, you see unhealthy trees, so this will help combat that.
Ice machine.
We're requesting an ice machine. Our ice machine that we've had for quite a few years, it doesn't work anymore, it broke. I had a mechanic come in that does that type of work, and he said it's not worth replacing. It's going to cost you more than that to replace the parts, and they recommended that we go for a new one. And this is used for all of our recreation programs. It's used a lot during summer camp, and also our maintainers have access to it if they need ice for their water jugs before they go out for the day.
And Dan, a multi-purpose vehicle, we already have one now that Park and Rec uses for cleaning off the sidewalks on our town building here, also across the street.
Right.
But now we're adding new sidewalks.
Right.
So we're gonna have a bunch of sidewalks at Pettibone, right? Bunch of sidewalks at the high school, And they're town buildings that we have to take care of them, correct?
Correct.
So the need would be for another multi-purpose vehicle to do that, correct?
And it does numerous things. We have one machine now that it does everything from brush hogging to blowing leaves, to mowing. It has a attachment on the back that we can put salt down after we plow. So it is a wonderful machine.
And Emmanuel Williamson, the park fence replacement.
Okay, we were contacted by the residents in Gaylordsville regarding an old fence that's been up between the park and two houses up there. And it was an old wooden fence that I can't find any records of when it was installed. It was well before my time. So they've asked that that be replaced and removed, and it is dilapidated, and we'd like to remove that and install chain link fence, a black vinyl, which looks nice.
It's a safety issue for sure. The rack dump truck.
Okay, so rack body dump truck is used. We use it for plowing, we use it for hauling, and it's used every day for hauling our mowing machines all around New Milford.
Lead damming, power washing, and staining of boat dock.
Okay, as you know, we have 83 boat slips on Lindeming Park.
And we sell out every year.
We sell out every year. It's a huge revenue maker. And we want to continue to maintain those so they're able to be used many years and so people aren't getting slivers and other issues. So we'd like to have that power washed and restained.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now we're going to go ask Donna to come up for the ambulance. So Donna, for those that don't know, what is an AED? And why do we need it?
Since you asked.
What I do is show it.
Been there, done that.
Newest and greatest, New Milford Ambulance got through the first the ARPA funds. We got 6 of these, but after I got them, I realized that New Milford Ambulance has a defib in the town hall, the library, and the senior center. And I checked my records, and they're past their time. So I realized that something needed to be done. So I had asked the mayor if we could put in to get 3 of them. It's really not for. It says 3 for the ambulance. What it would be is I would put them in those 3 town buildings. They're not directly for us. I've always maintained them. We bought the boxes that they're all in, so they just don't get walked off. And these are the greatest ones, the pads and the batteries. They're good for 5 years. They have a life expectancy of about 10 years, so we'd be good to go for a while. And like I said, it'd be in the 3 main buildings where we really need them.
Thank you, Donna.
One in this building, Mayor?
Pardon?
One in this building?
Yes, there's one downstairs right across from the mayor's office, and I always replace the batteries and the pads and stuff. These are also able to be hooked up through the Wi-Fi in the buildings, and I'll have a report back to us, so in case something were to go wrong, I immediately get a message. I don't have to constantly go over and check, make sure no one's fiddled with it or anything. So that's another great thing.
Thanks.
Sure.
Thank you, Donna. Next is senior center, the flooring. So in our meetings, Jasmine was talking a little bit about safety, our seniors, and the flooring. Jasmine, can you talk a little bit about that?
Good evening, everyone, town council, and the community. Thank you, Mayor. So at the senior center, the flooring that we are looking for is within our dining room and in our grand room. So though our grand room is new, what we've noted, they've used the same type of flooring throughout the dining room and the grand room. And this kind of flooring, unfortunately, it isn't the best for our seniors as they traverse through. Especially come winter time and when there's sand on the floor, it's the type of flooring that gets very sticky. Unfortunately, that is the space that we see frequent traffic, and also we see a lot of trips and falls. We call upon our ambulance crew a lot just for lift assists, and if any...
You've been there for that.
Yes. And especially in our dining room, which that floor has not been touched for as long as I've been at the senior center. Believe it or not, the design of it is also a safety concern. There are light and dark parts of the tile, which for our older adult community does mess with the depth perception. We also have a space right in front of our fireplace, which, believe it or not, dips down. as we have, and that's a frequent spot for our folks to decorate the mantle, and we fear many times that there could be an accident waiting to happen. So thank you, Mayor. for
Thank
that.
you, Jasmine, thank you.
Can I, Mayor?
Next,
Question?
Katie?
The flooring that exists in the most recently put up part of the building, what do you call that? The
The grand room?
The grand room?
Yes.
That's what you're saying is not the type of flooring that should be in a senior environment?
It's the type of flooring, so this is both the grand room and the dining room have the same type of material of flooring. It's shiny, it catches a lot of our folks' shoes, especially with assistive devices. It gets sticky.
Gotcha.
So
Okay, I just never paid attention, sorry. I'm too young to be paying attention.
Come by and walk around.
I just want to know if it was the same all the way through, that's all.
It is, different designs, different times, but of the same material.
Thank you.
Next is youth agency. Jason had an issue, so that's why he left. But with the cameras, these are more updated cameras as we have Litchfield transition in the MAX.
Right.
We felt it was important to upgrade our camera systems there. So that's the 520862. Town hall window painting. I know Jack here, if you'd like to address that, now that we've done the standing seam roof. Jack, you want to talk a little bit about the painting of the windows?
Yeah, the municipal building committee was looking at the building after we did the roof, and they noticed that the windows needed to be touched up and painted. We've gone out to get a price from a contractor. They provided us with a price to paint the exterior of the windows for $17,548. It's part of trying to keep a building up. We should be painting and maintaining the windows and also periodically sealing the exterior brick. So this would be one part of that upkeep.
Thank you, Jack.
And the roof, Mayor, you skipped over the MAX roof.
Oh, I'm sorry. The MAX roof, Jack, needs a new roof.
It's time to do a new roof. Dave Martin, our facilities manager, he has the records on all the roofs, looking at the age, and also he spends a lot of time on the roof. That one is starting to show some age, particularly toward the road side of the roof. We've had a few leaks recently. He's been up there patching it. Better to take a proactive measure before we start getting water infiltration into the building and cause more damage.
Thank you, Jack. Next, New Milford High School. So we talked about this a little bit beforehand. So when Jack and I toured the building along with Matt Cunningham, this is just one of a few things that's going to need to get done to bring that building back up to where we actually really want. So one of the main things we said that was very important, both to the principal and to us, as this is such a beautiful building, is looking when you go to the gym, you look up on the gymnasium, and there's blistering paint. Just not this is not good at all in both gyms. So I'd asked Jack to get the approximate cost. So for painting and scraping of both gyms is $150,698. The canopy and scraping that and painting that is $11,167. Is that about right, Jack?
Yeah, that's about right.
Okay. And now, Jack, what are some of the other things, because we're going to be talking about this with our Board of Education partners, what are going to be some of the other things that we're going to need to do as a town to just bring the high school up to where we want it to be?
Well, we're working right now, as we're going through the roof project, we have gutter systems that we have to make sure we maintain. We have water coming over the edge of the gutters. So as part of the project, we're actually having that cleaned right now, but there may have to be some modifications to the gutter systems. Also, the high school needs to have the brick seal. I think I just said one of the things we should be doing is maintaining buildings. Is periodically you have to seal the exterior brick buildings, otherwise you get water infiltration. We have a few spots in that building that we have found that, so we've got a price for having that performed over the next
And
year.
Jack, can you tell the town council and those in the public and those that are watching tonight what just the masonry sealant will cost?
Well, I believe there that came to, hold on, well over $450,000.
Can you repeat that again?
Well over $450,000.
Right. So that's just one thing.
To do what?
To do the sealant on the masonry. It's supposed to be done, what, every 7 years, Jack?
It's probably about every 10 to 15
Every
years.
10 to 15
That's to do the caulking, you know, any brick pointing that needs to be done, and then sealing the building so you don't get water infiltration. And that's based on a unit cost from a contractor who does this.
And then Jack, just, because we'll opine about this more, both in December and in January, but as we toured every school, because I did, right? And looked at all the capital requirements, because I did, okay? We are talking about substantial amounts of money. Am I correct?
Yeah, you're looking at roofs on 2 of the schools that need to be, which are not, not being done currently. We have a company that we've, Silver Petrocelli, who has been approved to do an analysis of both of those roofs. Many of the schools need boiler upkeeps, either replacement or upkeeps, piping replacement. Probably should have some doors and windows replaced. The windows are old. They need to be replaced. The exterior of the other buildings, I just did the high school building. All the other buildings probably should be analyzed to see whether you're getting infiltration of moisture through the building. Doors, the doors are, there's a lot of cases, they're the original doors. They're out of skew. If you go there, you can look and you can see a gap between the doors as you walk into the building.
And I know Matt's been very instrumental in
Yes.
assisting with us in, really trying to put together, first time in the history of the town where, with the Board of Education and with the town partnering together, coming up with a true joint 5 and 10-year capital plan, so that we all know, we all can better budget for all these expenditures, because we know they're going to be extremely daunting. Another thing too, just I'm sure most council people know, but just for our audience, just for those watching on TV, all of the debt service of this, whether we're talking about the Sarah Noble roof, the New Milford High School roof, is all borne on the town side. We pay for the principal and interest payments. Just so we're all aware of that. So we do partner with our Board of Education partners. We do work with them, and I think we have a very good relationship. Matter of fact, I talk with them weekly, minimum, and we're going to continue to do so. But it requires everybody trying to work together, especially through what's going to be daunting times moving ahead. And thank you, Jack, for that. The next is the town portion of the Route 7 Canterbury Hill sidewalk project. So we got grant funding, right, Jack, for the sidewalks that'll be at Pettibone, sidewalks that are to come down Canterbury to make sure those kids are safe. Going across the high school, the separation of the sidewalks where Taco Bell was, right? So Jack, can you kind of give us an update on where we are with that project? And then obviously the town has to have a match.
Yeah,
and that's our match.
It's an 80-20 project. In other words, we pay 20%, the grant pays the other 80%. That amount has gone up like everything else recently, so we're being updated. We have to update the amount of money that we're putting into the project. The sidewalks will start at Candlewood Lake South on Route 7, go north, and we'll end up at Pettibone School. It includes a couple of Route 7 crosswalks. There are 5-foot wide sidewalks. It's for connectivity, and I think one of the things that we're looking at is trying to make it safer for people along Route 7. So it will involve relocating a couple of bus stops, putting covers for them in those areas. We just recently met out there to do the utility walkthrough with all the utilities. They'll move they have to move poles and wires. We are set so that the bids will go out over the winter, and we will start construction on those starting July 1st of the next budget season.
Thank
And
you,
it
Jack.
also includes going up toward Canterbury School. That's a very small portion.
And that brings the kids down from Canterbury safely, instead of walking in the road down to the downtown, where they patronize our wonderful shops and restaurants. Next is the EV charging station project. So Jack, you and I have been in contact with one of our people that's working with Eversource to get us some much-needed grant funding. So our portion of, what is it, a 4-station EV charging Yeah, you talk a little bit about it. It's going to be at Young Patriots Way.
Yeah, it's gonna be on Patriots Way. If you come in Patriots Way from Bridge Street, you come to that first island, you would go left, and it would be on the back side of that island. And I think actually, Mary, it's 6 stations, it's 3 poles, 2 stations off of each pole. It would be, we are setting it up such that if you hook up to it, it's not free, you're gonna pay for the electricity, but the town has to bear the price, a portion of the price to install it. This is our portion of the installation, including wiring. We actually have electric service right to that area, so it's very convenient for us. We thought it was a good spot to start and put in our, well, it's not our first, but our next EV charging stations. A lot of people are coming with those cars, but we also felt that they should pay for electricity.
Do we know what
Thank you, Jack.
the rate was gonna be from Eversource for the electricity? Is it stable?
Funny you said that, Sal. Funny you said that. So right now, Eversource is currently at about 11 cents a kilowatt. They've now asked to go in January to 22 cents a kilowatt.
That's now. It could be double 2 years from now.
So, it's going to be double now,
Probably.
which is going to put a lot of pressure on our residents.
Mhm.
And we'll talk about more about that in December, because I'm going to ask Ivana to come in and update the council on some of that stuff. So that's what we got for EV charging stations. Next is additional payment pension of $100,000. The reason why I'm asking for that is it's speaking with not only our pension committee chairman, Mr. Pilla, also our pension consultants and our finance director. Like everything else, when it comes to investments, when it comes to whether it be bonds or equities, the pension's lost between 20 and 30% of its value. So the prudent thing to do is to add into it with $100,000. There's going to be a significant increase in this next year's budget to cover that shortfall. I'll have those projected numbers in January, but it will be significant. So that's going to be another headwind facing the town and the town council and our public. The next is the creation of a town-side personnel reserve for retirements and payouts. So in speaking with our finance director, our workforce is getting older. And with that being, is we have some wonderful employees that are pretty much getting ready to retire. In retirement, getting ready to retire, they have certain cash outs, sick time, right, Jack? Bank time and payouts. And we need to be prepared for that. Rather than having to come and take it out of a surplus or a contingency, you need to be prudently planning for that. So that's why I'm asking for $175,000. And that won't be in a capital reserve. Once that's done and approved, it will go on the balance sheet. Next is Park and Rec implementation of cartograph software. So what does that mean? So right now, our DPW team, Mike's highway department, works with cartograph. It's a phenomenal system. And what that allows you to do is allows them to do a few things. First, they can go to the job. They'll have iPads like our public works team does. They'll take a picture of the job that's going to be done. When they're done at the end of the day, they take a picture. Gets sent up. They also put in notes what they did for that day so that Dan, where's Dan? So there's Dan. And Mike does it now, and Chuck, they can look and make sure that what was tasked to do that day was done. And they don't have to be driving all over the place. They can look at that in their office. Also, it adds up the costs of what the job would be, both material and in personnel. Why is that important? Well, it's important for a few things. That way Mike and Chuck and Jack can see what the costs are, how we can maybe do it a little better or a little worse, or we don't know. And also a big thing too is, God forbid we have another tropical storm or we have a hurricane. And our guys go out, do a phenomenal job, unbelievable job. Same with our first responders. But we need to keep track of our FEMA reimbursements. We need to keep track of all those costs. And rather than having the ladies do pen and paper, taking them weeks and weeks and weeks, they can just push a button. So we saw the success of Cartograph, and we're going to migrate that now software into our Park and Rec team. Next is Town Hall carpeting. All of us use the carpet as we go up and down the stairs here. We know that it's getting old, it's getting antiquated. Some of it on the back side, am I correct? Jack, is starting to separate a little bit?
Yeah, we're starting to have separation, yep.
So that then becomes a safety issue. So getting the town hall new carpeting. The next is East Street inspection. So one of the things I'll be talking about in a few more minutes is that the Board of Education is just about almost done moving out of East Street School. They're going to be going to Sarah Noble School, where their administrative staff will be. That's why you appropriated the money today. So they're going to turn it over to the town. What does that mean? Well, we need to figure out what's wrong with the building. What repairs need to get done to the building? How does it all look? We need to do a full inspection. Is there asbestos in there? Is there mold in there? What do we need to do? So I asked Jack if he could come up with the pricing so that as soon as the Board of Education turns over the building to the town, we can do an inspection. Jack, could you talk a little bit more about the inspection, what that would be?
Yeah, it would be a top-to-bottom inspection by Silver Petrocelli and Associates. I've talked to them. What I'd like to have them do is do a complete review of the heating system, the condition of the roof, condition of the heating system throughout the school, window systems, if we have water infiltration into the masonry, code compliance, to give us a general idea of what the condition of the building is, what it would take to bring this building up to code, give us a preliminary look at it. It's going to be a snapshot, but I can tell you right now that it's greatly needed. Currently, the boiler in the school, in that building, is a steam boiler. It can't hold 2 psi. So what does that mean? It means right now that we can't heat, that Matt's working with it, he's running the boiler every morning, trying to heat the building. We're just trying to keep the mass warm enough so to keep the building from freezing. But right now, that boiler cannot heat that building if we get into a prolonged cold spell.
And Jack, that's water-based boiler, correct?
Yeah, it's water-based with steam, yep.
So as Katie, myself, just real quick, spoke with Wendy Fallenbach, Pete Helmus of the Board of Education, Superintendent Patty Foote, Temporary Superintendent, Holly Hollander, who's the Assistant Superintendent, also Anthony, who's their business manager, because we wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page as to when they will be able to turn it over. They asked that I send a letter, which I did to them, to request them, now that they have moved, to turn it over to the town as soon as possible, to put it on the next Board of Education agenda. And the reason being is, with winter coming, the worst thing that we could do is have pipes burst at East Street School. So the goal is to have a conversation with the Board of Education, and it's going to be up to them to decide when they're going to turn over the building to the town. But Wendy did ask that I do send a letter, and I'd asked to have that put on their next agenda so that we can all talk and about, really doing it collaboratively and making sure we do it in the most cost-effective manner as well, especially we know with winter coming. Next is Youngsfield crosswalk intersection, the crosswalk lights and the signals, Jack. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and I think the chief could probably, I don't know, he's been looking at the same thing I've been looking at. You heard that there's been a couple of deaths by people crossing streets. The mayor and I and Mike and Chuck all get emails continuously asking us about crosswalks, how can we light them better. There's a lot of new technology out there with solar lights that we can put on the crosswalks to make it so they're illuminated when people go across. We've had a recent request for a crosswalk signal at Youngsfield Road and Bridge Street, that particular intersection. I know Mike sent me an email today. He's going to talk with Eversource. I believe the light there is not functioning. We're going to work on getting that. But I've asked Chuck and Mike to give me a program to slowly start to put these solar lights at intersections so that we can better illuminate them. I recently attended a DOT conference on this. It's a problem throughout the state. The state is engaging all of the public works departments to facilitate improving crosswalks and moving people to right areas. get people to use the crosswalks and not go between the crosswalks. So this is our first look at it.
Thank you, Jack. Next is, we've done a lot the last few years. You can see all the capital that we're looking to do, that instead of re-taxing our public, we're reappropriating the funding, thus, saving the taxpayer future tax dollars. Also with the money, as I said before in the very beginning, our property taxes, the variance, meaning we collected $1,788,755 difference this year in property taxes. So my suggestion is that we take $1,788,755 of the surplus and use it for mill rate reduction stabilization. As we all know, we're going into hard economic times. I think this would be a great way to properly use those funds to help buttress and stabilize our mill rate in the coming budgets. I believe first time we'd ever do this in New Milford. So in closing for this, requesting to use $2,702,423.24 for capital requests out of the Capital Reserve Fund, subject to audit and approvals. I then would be requesting $1,788,755 from the 2021-22 budget surplus to be used for tax mill rate stabilization reductions. That would be a total of $491,178.24 in totality. As you know, that we actually have a higher number, but I would suggest anything that's above and beyond that would then automatically be put into the capital reserve. But I didn't want to use all of it because we don't know the finality of the audit. So that's why you have a little bit of the cushion. So Councilwoman Francis, it would be two motions if the council so choose. The first one would be putting the $2.7 million into the capital reserve. The next would be taking the $1.788 million, and that would be put in for tax mill rate stabilization reduction, and to put in at the direction of the finance director, because I don't know if he'd want to put that on the balance sheet or not. And then if approved, putting the $2.7 million in for capital requests, I would request that we approve the capital items that are on the slide deck that I just presented and in your packets tonight.
So moved.
I didn't make the motion yet, Tom. You want to wait a minute? Mayor, I'm not sure that we have all of the items. I only seem to have one page of.
Should be a couple pages in there.
Yeah. Well, I've got a lot of pages with the prices and the purchase orders and the equipment. The list, yeah, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah, should be in there.
Thanks. That's what I didn't have, the second page of the list. Okay. Do you all have that, Hillary?
Yes.
Alex,
It's
Mary
not
Jane?
everything that you just went through, but it's some things.
11D is on the first page, and then it ends up with ambulance, chip truck, and then ambulance. Okay.
Yep.
All right, so Mayor, before I make this, let me make sure I understand exactly.
Sure.
So we have 2.7 million, which would go for capital reserve?
Correct.
Okay.
And according to Greg, I want to make sure that this, if it's approved, that we do it properly, so it's got to go to capital reserve first.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd have to be one motion
For
to
that.
approve that amount for capital
Right.
reserve.
And then the second is the 1.788
And that would
million
be, right, and that would be budget
to
surplus.
reduce
and it
the
would
tax mill rate?
be for mill rate stabilization reduction.
Oh, reduction.
And that would be, and then that would be appropriated to, or trying to remember would be the best thing, the best verbiage for it. Right, it would be the verbiage to make sure that the finance director could place that.
That won't affect the balance sheet. That's gonna stay on the balance sheet.
Yeah, to stay on the balance sheet.
You know, that would
Okay.
be tax relief.
Okay.
Tax relief.
Right, so
Perfect.
that's what I have, it's for the, I said tax, but you
Yep.
said mill rate.
Mill rate, same
Yeah,
thing.
right, okay. All right, and those are the two.
And then if approved at the council, right, then we have to make the following motion, which would be all of those capital items, and I could bring it back up
Yep,
for.
all the capital items.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Could you put it
So-
to the first page with your
Absolutely.
map on
Sure.
how we got here? Thanks.
You want to start with the first one?
Yeah, let me go back to Hillary, the,
Where the money came from.
Yep, very first.
that's not one, that's not 17 million, it's 1,788,755.
That should be corrected so that,
It will, we'll correct it.
yeah.
But other revenue, so is ARPA funding in here?
No, ARPA funding has nothing to do with
Not
this.
part of your budget at all? Not
Nothing.
considered? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we take 2.7 million and add to the capital reserve. What'd you do with that? No.
Let me get over there.
2702423.
Second.
That's what I was looking for. 2702
423.
423, $2,702,423, and move it.
24 cents
24 cents, and move it to the capital reserve.
from the,
From
from the 21,
21,
22 surplus subject to
correct.
audit.
I'm writing it, hold it. All subject, 2021 to 2022 audit, subject to that. Okay. Okay, there's a motion.
And Tom, you seconded it? Okay. Oh, okay. Any discussion on the motion? Hillary?
Why wouldn't you put everything back to the mill rate and build this in the budget? Where
then you're-
people can then look
Because you're
at
double
it.
taxing the public.
How is that double taxing them?
Well, because right now you're using it with 21
Mute,
tax
please.
dollars,
Tom,
partly, and partly with the increase in fees.
excuse me, Mayor, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Could you mute yourself, those on the phone? Doug, Tom? Mute.
It's not me, it's Doug.
Doug,
We can hear you, Doug.
okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, go
So,
ahead, sorry, Hillary.
using these dollars today, right? We'd have to go back to the taxpayer and use the same amount of money for what we already have right now. And then add on anywhere from 14 to 20% to inflationary costs. So why would we do that?
Because this is taxpayer money, so basically, we were overtaxed, so it should go back, and then anything you're asking for next year should be approved in the budget.
Well, Hillary, that we
right?
didn't overtax people. So let me explain how we didn't. So by using the $1,788,755, that's the differential in the taxes that we raised. So I'm asking for mill rate reduction, which brings that to zero. Where we get the additional money in the fees that we generated by our strong economy. So that is in our conveyance tax. That is in our building fees, permits, because we had strong growth. That is in our tax collection on motor vehicles. So all these things are strong economic things, and we put that money to work, rather than me going back to you and saying, okay, let's let that money fall to the unassigned, and now I'm gonna tax you for it. So I'm double taxing you. I don't wanna do that.
Does this go to a town vote, vote
Absolutely.
after it's
Yep.
moved here?
It will
Okay.
go to Board of
Because I
Finance.
think the public, yeah.
100% agree with you.
Okay.
Absolutely. And then goes to a town meeting. Absolutely.
Are there any particular departments that contributed to the surplus by underspending, by a large amount?
So underspending, we had underspending in general government. We had underspending in public works. We had underspending in park and rec. And those are all underspending as they are looking at their costs and really honing in on those. We look at them every year. Some of it too is capital that we weren't able to spend, due to shortages. It could be that too. So it's all about taking the dollars that we have today, repurposing them to get the infrastructure, the sorely capital, as we've heard today, from our department heads. I didn't make them up. This is coming right from the department heads. And how we can do this capital, one-time capital, use the funds that we currently have rather than going back to the taxpayers and charging them again.
Found it. So the numbers that you got for the high school came from?
The high school scrape and
Right.
paint.
Mhm.
Jack, where did we get those numbers from?
We sent out requested a proposal from a company to give us that estimate. Included in it is protection for the floor during the process. So we requested that. We have a proposal from that company.
So the Board of Ed didn't request this?
No, they did not.
They did not?
Correct.
Was the board offered an opportunity to ask for anything that they might need?
Well, the Board of Ed, when we walked through the building, they had told us, Matt Cunningham too, this is much needed stuff. I'm like, what stuff do we need to get fixed?
But at a
So-
Board of Ed meeting, they did not make their list of what they
Absolutely
needed?
not.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I mean, I'm just
Okay.
trying to understand how we can vote on the surplus so quickly without, really talking through some of these numbers in deeper. I mean, I think that's what the budget's for, but I'm just having a hard time just seeing all of these numbers and, saying, yeah, let's go for it. But, I mean, we didn't have all of this ahead of time.
Well, I
so
think we
I'm-
need to be cognizant of, unfortunately, the inflationary times that we're in,
Right.
the shortages that we're in. And if we continue to avoid it, your prices are gonna go up 15, 20%. And is that really good to the taxpayer? That we know that we're having escalated costs, we have an opportunity to address these costs, and we can do it in a compliant way. And we've done this for the last 5 years. And think about if we waited those times. Think about the millions of extra dollars that our taxpayers would be spending on higher inflationary costs. So my asking the council to do this in this manner is to save the taxpayers money, to get much needed capital items that the town's business needs to run.
We've already seen the increases that, in things where we couldn't do anything about it. But also, I'd say, Hillary, is that it really, this has got future discussion to be had because it is going out to the town.
Yep.
And got to start.
Absolutely.
So what you're basically saying is this long list would have been in the next budget proposal, but you want to spend it now?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And you're gonna see there's gonna be way more than this that's gonna come before you on much-needed capital that's gonna be needed, both on the educational side and the town side. Also additional pressures of your operations, whether it be health insurance costs, whether it be pension costs. So to me, if we have a chance to buy now, right, and not have the inflationary costs hit us even more, being able to help mitigate with a mill rate reduction plan, it's all to me seems like a big win-win-win for the town. But like I said, it's got to go to the Board of Finance and then to the public. And the public can opine if they think this is the right way to use their taxpayer dollars. I personally think that it is.
I think we need to strike while the engine, when the iron's hot. We've got the money, let's spend it now, rather than 2 years or 3 years down the road. We don't have the money, and we've got equipment that's all broke down, we'd be crying then. We've got the money now, let's use it.
Thank you, Paul.
Tom
Any
has
other?
been trying to say something.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Tom?
I want to thank you for bringing this forward. Number one, I want to thank the town and all the town departments and all the employees in town for looking at every dollar that they're spending while they're operating. This is another responsible budget that has come in from this town for 5 years in a row. In my opinion, being this is going into my 14th budget season, this is a no-brainer. I've said that on only a couple of occasions in the last 14 years, but this is one of the no-brainers of no-brainers here. Inflation has spiked our economy. I don't think it's going to get better. I think it's going to get worse. Somebody who's lived through many of these, like you have, Mr. Mayor, and some others in the room, this is a wise way to use this surplus, and it is much needed. Some of the safety issues here that we have in town with some of our trucks, with some of the amount of trees that are falling at every single storm. Every time the wind blows, we drive up and down these roads and see what's going on. The defibrillators, I see a list of needs, not wants. And just to point out one little thing in the park and rec budget, that kayak program, they rent those kayaks nonstop up there at the beach. Those small requests, even from Park and Rec, are going to have a major impact across town. Maybe not as big as the chipper trucks and our plow trucks and our police vehicles, but every line item that I see here is a responsible way to spend this money. I'd like to move the question, okay, and get this thing voted on and move on. Thank you.
Randy, if someone calls the question?
Right. Right. Before we do that, Tom, I just wanted to say something. Do you mind?
Well,
Absolutely.
Well,
We have to make a motion. Well, who's going to make the motion to do that?
He already did it. He called the question.
Oh, he just said it? Oh,
Okay.
Vote against
I was listening to
So
him.
we have a,
We have to vote if we vote.
Yeah.
vote
Yep.
on the
Okay,
question.
there we go.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, so I vote
all those in favor of calling the question signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Question carries. Okay, so now, Randy, ends the discussion. Now we vote on
Vote
the,
on the question.
yep. So now we
Okay.
vote on the motion.
Would you like me to read the motion again?
Yes, please, so everyone
All right.
understands the motion.
So I'd like to move for, first item under 11D, that we move $2,702,423.24 from our surplus to capital reserve. This is from the 2021-2022 surplus, and this is subject to audit.
Second.
That was
All those-
seconded by Paul.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.
Stephanie, you got that?
Okay, Katie?
Second item under 11D would be that I would move that we take $1,788,755 from our 2021-2022 budget surplus to be used for tax/mill rate stabilization and reduction.
Second.
Any discussion? Oh, I can't, because we called the question,
I
right?
just had a question.
Yep.
You gotta vote.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions?
I'm sorry.
Oops, sorry.
Did everybody approve that?
Yes.
Aye.
Okay.
Mary Jane? Tom and Doug, did you say aye?
Aye. Yes, Tom said aye.
Thank you.
Tom said aye.
Okay. Katie, did you want to do the, I'll put them up here, did you want to go line by line?
Jeez, God.
Or,
Really?
I don't know, can you say,
Okay,
Randy,
all right, but then in order,
as presented?
right, okay, that's what I'd like to
Okay.
say, is that I'd like to move that, but before I say that, I'm back up. I want to make sure that every council member has this list that's marked 11D, and there are 2 pages, plus, is everything up there on here?
Should be.
Okay, yeah, we went from the side, okay, we started with chip truck, and we went, and we got
Chip
ambulance,
truck.
sits, okay.
Chipper.
Chip truck all the way through to the sidewalks. Okay. So I'd like to move that, per the information in the hands of the council listing the surplus requests from the budget
As presented.
as presented, be approved. I'm moving to approve it.
Second.
To
And-
approve the spending per this as
Of
presented.
2,000,000.
Okay, oh, I'm
702.
sorry, right, of the $2,702,423.
Out of the capital
And
reserve.
24 cents out of the capital reserve to use for
As
spending on
presented.
these items as we have presented them.
Presented. And can you please put subject to audit?
Yes, subject to audit, of course.
Thank you.
Second.
And Tom seconded. Any discussion on the motion?
All right, 2,700.
So every item adds up to the 2 million.
to the 2,702,423
On this list that we received.
and 24 cents.
This adds up to 2 million, we're sure? Okay.
Well, I'm going to say it's going to be subject to
It's
audit
subject
and
to audit
subject to
anyway.
our calculators when we get home. Or no, maybe not when we get home, but tomorrow morning.
Okay. Any other discussion?
While I totally support the needs of all our departments, no question, I'm disappointed that the Board of Ed was not asked about where their priorities were, and I think that more should have gone toward the Board of Ed because we are all one. I'll be voting no on this for that reason, but not because I don't support what our departments need. I absolutely support what our departments need.
And just for the record, Councilwoman, do you believe the town owns the school buildings?
Of course,
Town responsibility?
yeah.
Excellent. I'm glad. I agree with you there. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. We have
Okay. I
a
know
motion and a
it's coming.
second.
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Right.
Who was
Thank
the second? Stephanie? Tom, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, moving on. Don't think you were getting out of here so soon. We have an item 11E, Mayor. Economic development update from the mayor.
Let me go back over here. I'll be brief since we're running late here. Okay. So we continue on the Economic Development Commission front, continue to work on our development guide. And that development guide will be both electronic and in print. We'll be handing out to those looking to either expand their business or to relocate their business into New Milford. And I'm hoping we can have that, our target date is in February to have that completed. And I'll continue to update the council on the development guide. Also, Dale Krupp, who's been working as our consultant when it comes to the health clusters, will be presenting to the council in December his final draft when it comes to the health clusters. And very exciting news with partnerships with Nuvance Health as they continue to grow with our senior, whether it's Candlewood Valley Rehab, whether it's Village Crest, continuing to look at sectors of where the groups will partner to create additional jobs and additional opportunities for growth. And Dale will be presenting that at our meeting. Also working with our Board of Education partners in creating a scholarship program. And that will be in partnership with the Economic Development Corporation, Nuvance, both Danbury and New Milford hospitals. And we'll have more on that as we continue to move forward with that. We're also working with the Board of Education on creating a career day symposium, working with the youth agency as well to talk about not only college careers but advanced manufacturing careers. We're continuing to partner with the Northwest Investment Board, Workforce Board, when it comes to not only our, as Jason was talking about, our youth summer programs, hopefully go into fall, but also creating additional job training programs. We have our counselor that comes in from there once a month, is housed in the seniors, the social services wing, and they do everything from looking to help with job searches, resume building, dress attire for if you're going to go for your job search, and we're continuing to go from that. As far as billing department, as we just talked about a little bit before, the data that I have from the beginning of November, billing department for that week they did 46 new applications, 77 inspections, 66 permits were issued, and that was during a short week. For those that don't know, O'Reilly's Auto Parts has broken ground on Danbury Road, so that's kind of diagonal across the street from McDonald's, kind of where the State Farm insurance agency is. They're going to be opening there, and they're going to have 2 other retailers there. It's kind of a 3-pad. I don't know who the other 2 are as of yet. Also, there's a where the Popeyes was going to be next to the Dunkin' Donuts. There's going to be a new tenant moving in. I'll be able to hopefully name that to you guys at the next meeting. It is a national chain, and they will be opening up. The daycare center is continuing to move forward at Litchfield Crossings. The playground equipment is up
Sure is.
there as well. Also, we've got S&M Excavation that's done a lot of their headquarter work on Pickett District Road. We have Mr. Baruzzi doing his on Pickett District Road. I believe the steel's up on both of those. Garrity Plumbing is going to break ground in the fall, which is over on Still River. Behind Garrity and Still River is Well-Built Industries. They're well on their way. They've already got some steel structures put up there, looking to open up, I believe, in the spring or summertime. We also have a New England Carpet that's looking to expand his building to put in some additional square footage space for sales.
You mean Northeast?
Yep, Northeast. Did I say Northeast
yeah.
Carpet? Yep.
Yeah.
Met with Governor Lamont, and he took a tour of the Deal Train facility with State Representative Buckby as well as the Economic Development Director for the state. Talked about Deal Train, which is a global provider of electronic connectors there. He was very impressed with the company. So was Mr. Lehman, the Economic Development Director for the state of Connecticut. We also talked about brownfield site remediation, as we do have some brownfield sites. One of them, when we do the DPW move, that will be something we'll be looking to clean up that area as well. We'll be doing some updates on the riverfront in January to the town council. And that's pretty much what I have. Katie? Real quick, I'm sorry, a couple other things real quick. As far as housing, affordable housing over on Lanesville continues. I believe it's 27 units, and now they've actually are taking applications
All right.
for that area. You have on Boardman, I believe it's 12 units of affordable housing. That's being worked on now.
Have they offered up any applications?
Not yet on that one yet, but that will be coming. Over where on Park Lane, over where the Dunkin' Donuts is, right next to that, where the old funeral home was. That's going to be, I believe, a 4-unit affordable housing spot. And then there's going to be another project. You can see the dozers that are next to the police department. They still there, Chief? They're going to be breaking ground on that. I believe that's going to be, I believe it's 47 units there as well. So we do see some of that growth when it comes to that. Also want to, Paul's Custom Pet Foods is opened up, and where the Green Granary was. That's kind of the first in New England where you can go and watch your pet food being made to order. And some of it is for dogs that have some allergic reactions or need a special diet. And they also have just the regular kind there. So thank you to Paul and his team for investing even more into New Milford. And Taste of Rio, which is kind of reopened under the new ownership. Same gentleman owns Elephant Bakery in Danbury, if you kind of know the reputation of that wonderful bakery. He brought some of that stuff up there too.
Do they have
They
a
do meats on the
bakery
spit.
type setup in
Oh
there
yeah,
now?
right in there. They
Oh.
have cakes and everything there too. So great chance if you can to go in there and see what they have to offer. They have a buffet style there as well. So we continue to see, as we talked about before, and you can see it in the data as well. Still see strong growth in our economies. And talking to Laura Regan and Bill Murphy, they continue to see a very strong pipeline even with the increased interest rates as of right now.
That's great.
So,
One question.
Yes, ma'am.
Where Popeyes was going to come, and you're not going to tell us who the new person is? Will the state move quick enough to keep them interested, and so we actually get somebody there?
I believe so.
Well, let's hope so.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought maybe because you had the governor here, you
Right.
might ask him. Okay. So item number 11F
And that's the
Update
ARPA?
on, no,
Oh,
that's the
sorry.
update on the Board of Ed move from East Street School to Sarah Noble
So,
Intermediate
yeah,
School.
so I kind of just broached that when I was doing the thing, so it's kind of the same thing, where, you know, we met with the board and with the superintendent, and we're just trying to get a firm timeline on when they're going to turn over the school to the town. They've moved pretty much everything but their filing cabinets, I believe now, over to Sarah Noble, and they're going to continue to work with Dean Petroselli as far as getting the final design work that will be done for Sarah Noble School. The initial estimates were $4 million. Everybody agreed that was a little bit too high, so they're coming back and looking at some additional costs. There were some numbers bantered about, but I'm not going to present them to the council until we get some firmer numbers from the board and from Dean, but I'll be notifying the town council and the public when we move forward with that. So with that being said, as we talked about before, I've asked them, sent a letter to the chairman and asked her to put on the next agenda for a timeline. They had asked when do we think we should need it, and I said I would like to take the building over as soon as possible.
When is their next meeting?
I believe it's in December, I think it is, Katie. I'm not sure. I think it's in December.
They have to have one December.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's
No,
the
just hope
second
before
week.
we
I'm
have
not
freezing
really
cold
sure.
weather, that's all.
Right. And we just want to make sure, and they've said that they're not going to cut the electric or do anything, but what we're really worried about is, as Jack said before,
The furnace.
when you're at 2 PSI on a water boiler, and we
has to
haven't
go up.
done anything as far as any kind of winterization, and we get a cold snap, and we have all lived in New England for a while, we know that can turn on a dime. We can go from 50 degrees to below zero in a second. And what we all don't want to have happen is for pipes to burst, and we could have some serious issues that way.
Can't they drain the
So-
water?
Yes, they can.
What's
Why
that?
don't they just drain the water?
They can winterize the building.
Well, that's up to them, I don't know. We talked about that, but
I mean, that's what you would do.
I kind of asked them, yeah,
Board of Ed is out, yeah.
we had asked them for kind of a winterization plan, if they were gonna do it that way, and they were still mulling over how they were going to do it. Not the winterization, but exiting and giving it back to the town. So, am I correct in that, Jack?
I can tell
We
you it's
also
cold in
have
there.
Camilla's covered
Yes.
in there, but there's no one else, right?
There,
That's it.
once they vacate, it would only be Carmela's covered. I did speak to Angie Chastain, who is the
Director.
chairman, director of Carmela's Cupboard. And she has, not to muddy the waters, but she has a building use approved thing
Through
until March.
March
So,
1st, yeah.
and obviously, she takes care of a lot of people in need, as well as our social services team. So I told Angie we're gonna do whatever we can to make sure that, you know, you're there where you are, at least until you're honored what has already been given to you. And
Right.
in my opinion, just mine, it should be even more of that as we're taking care of our most needed population, and we're seeing these numbers growing.
Right. And the
Can't they move over to
location,
Pettibone? Is that possible?
I spoke to Angie, we walked over there, we don't have the room for what the size that she has with that, we don't have the room there. And then in speaking to our fire marshal and our building inspector, to reuse or repurpose a thing now creates a whole new use, which then requires us to put sprinklers into Pettibone. So it's a
Remember-
big, yeah.
Change the use for, that happened
So right now,
years
the
back.
rooms that could be housed is just not big enough for her right now. So we're trying to figure out another way. And, you know, she's even saying, I don't need heat, you know, it keeps the stuff even fresher. And we're like, Angie, you're gonna need heat, you're gonna need
But
heat
you
and
need heat when
electricity
you're in there working.
to do that. So that's why Jack and his team has been out there trying to figure out, you know, a solution, as we kind of go through all this process. So that's kind of why we're up in the air with all this stuff right now.
Is she in the
Downtown.
basement? Is that where
She's in the basement, yeah,
a downtown location would be perfect, but,
absolutely.
right.
Okay.
Okay, all set?
Yes, ma'am.
Item number 12 is ARPA funds.
I would
and-
ask to take that off. I spoke
Oh.
to the commander who was here earlier today, and he asked that we take that off the agenda and put it
Item
on
number
for the
12
next
has been
time.
removed from the agenda.
But it is coming back to the.
I don't know.
Motion to adjourn.
Wait, what, could you answer her question?
Yeah, I
You
said,
yeah, okay.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.